The Mont invites you to come by and enjoy our high-quality food and drinks in our historic atmosphere. The Mont has won numerous awards, including Best Restaurant in Norman, Best Appetizer for our great queso, Best Exotic Drink for the original swirl, the Best Patio Dining for our beautifully landscaped patio. Come see the Town Tavern OU football scoreboards dating back to 1947. We'll see you at the Mont on the corner of Boyd and Classen, or call us at 329-3330.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I leave town for 2 days. 2 days! And Grayson Singleton somehow gets Mike Steely talking about trips to gentlemen's clubs in the early 80s.
You really gonna do me like that?
We got to get this thing back on track, man. It's Monday. Starting anew, starting fresh, brand new week. We're going to keep this thing on the rails today. You know what? I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions that I asked Steely. I have a lot of questions I want to ask you about what happened Thursday and Friday that I've just decided I don't want the answers to. We're just going to go ahead and move past that. Also, Steely just about blew my eardrums out when I put on these pair of headphones. Holy smokes, man. I knew he was old. I guess I didn't realize he was that old. Because I cannot fathom how the volume level that he uses when he wears these headphones is tolerable for any human being. I know he's been to a lot of concerts in his day. But still, holy smokes.
That and the gentlemen's clubs might explain it. In my defense, I did not bring that up. That is 100% on the old man.
He just ventured there of his own volition?
I think something on the text line may have sparked it.
Oh, of course.
And at that point, I can't remember who it was that texted it and told me to get Steely back on the rails, and I was like, nope.
Probably frat bro Mark or one of Steely's college buddies that still listens.
Somebody
with firsthand insight as to what went on back in his high school and college days.
Probably. Either way, it was one of those days where I'm just like, I'm just going to sit here and chill and let him do his thing.
This is Locked In here on the Ref Sports Radio Network. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. We're here with you until 3 p.m., at which point we turn things over to Tyler McComas and the Buckus Award winner Teddy Lehman for 3 hours of The Rush. This hour here brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. Family owned and operated. They pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly service advisors that put your needs first, and they have half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So get tapped in with the folks out at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. We appreciate their sponsorship of this hour of programming here on the Ref. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line open to you at 405-651-3439. There's one very natural place to start on this Monday, Grayson. And that is with Denver Harris. Denver Harris, the former 5-star cornerback, who was one of 9, I forget how many 5-stars it was that signed with Texas A&M in that 2022 recruiting class. But that was the class, if you'll recall, that was heralded as like the greatest class in the history of modern recruiting. The class that purportedly cost Texas A&M like $30 million. Which was astronomical at the time. It's still huge. That's still a huge amount of money by today's standards, but at the time that was astronomical. No one could fathom that. If you recall as well, Jimbo Fisher name-dropped OU insider mainstay Sliced Bread in his signing day press conference. Because he was like, this all originated, Bro Bible, some guy named Sliced Bread said we spent $30 million. We didn't spend $30 million.
I didn't know that dude was an OU insider.
Yes, that Sliced Bread was and still is a member on OUinsider.com.
Did not
that
know that.
I guess I don't know if he originated the rumor that that class cost $30 million or if he just perpetuated it, but somehow that wound up on Jimbo Fisher's desk. And in his signing day press conference, he was talking about how all the dudes they just signed because they love Texas A&M University and not because there was any money involved, and certainly not $30 million worth of it. Anyway, Denver Harris was one of those 5 stars. Was one of the players that was front and center in that legendary recruiting class for Texas A&M. And that's all it is. That's all it will ever be, was a legendary recruiting class, because Texas A&M did absolutely nothing with those guys. Well over half of them, I believe at this point over 2/3 of them have transferred and will finish their collegiate career somewhere else other than Texas A&M. Denver Harris is one such case. Let me bring you up to speed on Denver Harris. 5-star cornerback from North Shore High School down in Houston in the 2022 recruiting class. He signs with Texas A&M. He spends 1 year there. He transfers to LSU. He spends 1 year there. He transfers to UTSA. He spends 1 year there. A couple weeks ago, he enters the transfer portal once again with 1 year of eligibility left. On Saturday, Grayson, he was at the University of Oklahoma for a visit.
He was.
Look, I'm going to preface this entire discourse by saying this. I don't know whether Oklahoma is going to seriously push for Denver Harris. I know he would like to be at OU. Well, they don't have to seriously push at this point. I guess just give him the green light. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be officially given the green light to jump on board with Oklahoma. They had him on campus. That alone demonstrates a high level of interest. When push comes to shove, are they going to tell Denver Harris, come on with it? Because if they do, he's in. But let me preface this entire conversation by saying this. These coaches in the building at the University of Oklahoma make more money than I will see in a decade. It's their necks on the line, not mine, as to what happens on the football field in 2025. So, I'm not saying I know better than them. I'm not saying I'm second-guessing them. I get paid for my opinion, and I'm going to give it. I hate this, Grayson. Absolutely hate it. I think this is a terrible idea. Entertaining Denver Harris is a terrible idea.
Tell me why.
Well, there are so many reasons. Let's start with this. It's completely antithetical to everything that this program has ever claimed to be about philosophically under Brent Venables. This is exactly the type of player that you would have actively gone out of your way to avoid in years past. Mm-hmm. And I get things change. Things change when your back is against the wall and you got to win at all costs. And you'd probably, at that point, you're probably exploring options you would not otherwise explore because you have got to win, and I understand that.
Come on now.
But it's an entirely different conversation if Denver Harris has actually produced like a 5-star. He has done no such thing. He's been at 3 schools in 3 years. He has a career 8 pass breakups and no interceptions. Grayson.
Yep.
This is nothing more than a high-risk, moderate reward gamble. I'm not even sure if it's high reward because if Denver Harris didn't produce at Texas, not even Texas A&M, not even LSU, if he didn't produce this past year at UTSA, why all of a sudden would you imagine that he's going to realize his potential in year 4 as a college football player at the University of Oklahoma? What Denver Harris is a mercenary in its purest form. Mm-hmm. One of the mercenaries that we have that you continue to see proliferating across college football in this modern era where it's unlimited free agency for these athletes. And they're not tied down for any length of time to any particular school, and they can transfer as many times as they darn well please. But Denver Harris, beyond the fact that he is a mercenary, by definition, is a guy that has not produced anywhere commensurate with his recruiting ranking out of high school. Again, it's an entirely different conversation, and I frankly have no issue with it if you're talking about a guy with all-conference potential that has demonstrated the ability at the collegiate level that he flashed in high school. But he hasn't. He's the guy that allegedly was vaping marijuana in the locker room before the South Carolina game in 2022.
Sounds good.
There's no allegedly as far as the parking garage incident, because that was on somebody's Instagram Live, wasn't it, where he was driving like 120 miles an hour in the parking garage?
I forgot about that one.
And so, what is the benefit of bringing this guy in at Oklahoma? Well, the benefit is the talent's always been there, right? It just has been suppressed due to circumstances and due to lack of focus, and however you want to explain it away. All we got to do is just channel Denver Harris's focus and unlock his potential for 8 months, and it's worth it. And it's worth the investment at that point. That's the argument. The argument against it, what has he shown you in 3 years? What has he shown you to demonstrate that he is worthy of a scholarship at the University of Oklahoma at cornerback? And beyond that, is this the kind of individual that you want to be throwing into a locker room that right now is devoid of leaders? And I'm not saying there are no guys in that locker room who are capable of leading. What I am saying is you just lost all of your leaders.
Exactly.
They just all graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, Ethan Dent. Like, there's nobody in that locker room right now that is the leader that you would identify heading into next season. Okay, yep, that's the guy. Maybe Javonte Barnes, I guess. Maybe Jacob Sexton.
Dominic Williams, maybe.
Yeah, be that as it may, in order to lead effectively, you have to command the respect of the locker room for both your play on the field and your character off of it. And there are plenty of guys in that locker room that have that potential. But with all of the seniors that just graduated, not only Downs and Stutzman and Bowman, but guys like Woody Washington, guys like Jake Roberts, heck, guys like Luke Elzinga that were very well respected within those walls. When you're actively trying to figure out who your next generation of leaders is going to be within the football program, is Denver Harris the type of guy that you want to throw in the midst of it? And you want to bank on this thing working. As I see it, kind of to close the loop on this whole point here, the risk so far outweighs the reward to me in bringing Denver Harris in. And maybe it happens at this point. Maybe it doesn't. Again, there are some things on the OU side, to my understanding, that are holding this thing up, because I think the sentiment within that building is very much the sentiment that I have, which is that there's more than enough reason for some apprehension here, and we're going to, check every box, cross every T, dot every I before we say, yeah, come on with it. But I don't like it, Grayson. I don't like it one bit.
I'm going to give you an analogy here. This is like when you've been single for a long time, and here comes the girl that shows interest to you, but she had 3 DUIs in high school, and then there's a mugshot of her when she went to college, and you're like, I can fix her. This is what that's what this is like. Dude hasn't contributed anywhere. He's got 37 total tackles in 3 years. It makes no sense. Now, here's where you could potentially reason yourself into making this move. You struck out on Ethan O'Connor. You might want one more corner. He is 6 foot. He is 190.
Very physical.
At one point in time, he was a 5-star quarterback, and corner, excuse me. And we did just see in the NFL somebody resurrect the career of Sam Darnold. These things do happen.
They do.
So if you and I do believe you do have a buffer at corner. If I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, you do have a buffer at corner with the rise of Eli Bowen, Gentry Williams coming back. If you could throw this guy in as your 3rd or 4th corner, and you're not going to pay him a boatload of money, you can justify this. Now, in terms of a philosophical point, I think you're exactly right. This is the antithesis of what you've built your program on. But this is also a sport and an industry where we take chances. And as long as the financials doesn't blow you out of the water, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. The Patriots took it. The Patriots took a chance on a troubled Randy Moss.
The Patriots also took a chance on a troubled Josh Gordon and a troubled Antonio
and,
Brown.
And by the way, Josh Gordon performed pretty decently for the Patriots until it didn't happen. You figure it out. I think this is one of those. I know Randy Moss had produced before. I know it's not a perfect analogy, but we can take chances on troubled people if the price tag is correct.
Oh, and it's funny, man. Like, there's a very vocal contingent on social media that I've seen that seem to like Denver Harris strictly because he's got that bad boy reputation, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we put out the tweet Saturday night, Denver Harris is on campus, and you got people in the comments section going, yes, more of these guys. Forget the sole mission. Let's just get former 5-stars.
We'll look at the text line. Somebody just said we need more thugs on the team, which I don't. That word makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, look. Even if, like, let's take character, let's take the checkered past, let's take it all out of the picture for a second. Even if Denver Harris was the Bible thumping salt of the earth, what is there through 3 seasons at the collegiate level that would lead you to believe, yeah, this is a guy that's worth a scholarship at Oklahoma? The transient nature of his career to this point, the lack of production, all of that to me screams, if this was not a guy if this was not a guy that had the 5-star next to his name from high school, I hardly think OU would take any interest in him. And so, man, this feels like if Oklahoma goes ahead with it, if they decide to add Denver Harris, this feels like the most volatile gamble from a personnel standpoint that Oklahoma has taken thus far in the Brent Venables era. Because you're counting on being able to fix this dude. And you're counting on getting something out of him. Texas A&M couldn't do it. LSU couldn't do it. UTSA couldn't do it. But you're counting on getting something out of him. And hey, on the one hand, like, if it comes to pass, I respect the confidence. I respect the confidence in Jay Valai to be able to develop him and turn him into a serviceable contributor. I don't think he would come in with the expectation of being a starter. I think those guys are expected to be Eli Bowen and Gentry Williams in 2025. So he would come in with the expectation that he's a rotational contributor at best, but who knows, man? Maybe it booms. Maybe it's a bust. I just don't like it. And I think the risk outweighs the reward.
You know what you do with those kinds of players in the NFL, Parker? Since this sport is increasingly becoming more like the NFL, you give them incentive-laden contracts. And you can cut them easily. You mentioned Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown. Their careers ended on those types of contracts. Give them an incentive-laden contract or NIL or however we want to term it. And you're taking a chance on a third corner. It's not like you're expecting him, hey, go replace Billy Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's happening here. So while you definitely can hate it like you do, and I think the point is valid, he is a former 5-star. The talent's there. The length is there. The build is there. He's played some SEC football. I say, why not? I say go for it.
Hey, I respect it. Greg in Muskogee on the text line says, are you sure he's not being recruited to play tight end at Oklahoma? Sounds like he has the statistics like all the others to back it up. The token Texas troll says, Parker, as a Texas fan, you and I rarely agree on much, but I completely agree with you on this one. I have followed Denver Harris's recruitment from his high school days, and there's something missing here. There's something wrong. So there you go. We're not even down a full segment yet on this show, and I have already found common ground with the token Texas troll. I don't know if that's a great thing or a terrible thing.
And far be it for me to not be disturbed by somebody vaping in the locker room.
Well, they were vaping weed, though. Like, that's...
Okay, yeah, that's...
In a visiting locker room, mind you.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you add that context in there, that makes sense.
Allegedly. Sorry, allegedly.
Look,
allegedly that was happening.
If you add that level of context to the allegation, okay, that switches it up a little bit.
Spence in Tulsa said, Barry Switzer fielded coke addicts and gun runners and won 3 natties. Well, who knows? I guess maybe this is just what it takes.
Urban Meyer had a white dude that called somebody the N-word and a murderer on the team, and they won a couple natties.
I forgot about Riley Cooper, man.
How long's it been since you spoke of that name?
Oh, a decade? Maybe longer?
Yeah.
Sheesh. All right, we're overdue for an opening timeout. Let's hit one here. We'll come back. We'll get to some of your thoughts on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. You're listening to Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Thunder up and double down to win your commemorative coin during any Thunder game.
So start off 2025 right.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
At Confidence Ford of Norman, we believe in living up to our name. Our commitment to confidence is in everything we do. Whether you're searching for the perfect vehicle from our extensive selection of new Ford models or pre-owned cars, our dedicated team will help you every step of the way. Because with us, you're family. We're conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender Auto family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Heyday Family Entertainment Center in Norman is a great place for exciting group events with 2 floors of fabulous fun. Bowling, mini golf, laser tag, arcade games, ropes course, and more. Plus 2 fully stocked bars and a delicious full-service food menu. Heyday in Norman is perfect for groups of up to 1,000 people. You'll be amazed at everything Heyday has to offer. Call Connie for a free tour at 405-310-3500 or visit heydayfun.com. Let's meet at Heyday.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not gonna give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov, 1-800-845-8476.
Speaking of technology, did you know that RK Black is an authorized dealer for Kyocera copiers? And the Kyocera copiers aren't just copiers. They're smart devices that can scan, print, fax, and email your documents with ease and security. Even better, they're backed by RK Black's award-winning service team that is built on nearly 70 years of taking great care of our clients. Whether you need a desktop printer or a multifunction copier, RK Black has the right product for you. Let's get the conversation started. Give us a call at 943-9800 or visit us at rkblack.com.
The exodus has begun in Austin, Texas. Draft announcements happening left and right for the Longhorns, which was expected. It's a talent-rich team. At least it was in 2024 before their season came to an end at the hands of Ohio State. The latest Longhorn to announce his plans to enter the draft, wide receiver Matthew Golden. Obviously, if you're keeping track, Kelvin Banks has already announced that he's going to the draft. Jaden Blue has already announced he's going to the draft. I don't know how consequential it is, nor is it official, but obviously the expectation is that Quinn Ewers is going to enter the draft. You got plenty more that are graduating seniors. Gunnar Helm is a guy that doesn't have any eligibility left. They're going to lose him as well. So there's going to be a lot of turnover at Texas heading into next season. By no means does that indicate that Texas is going to take a step back, because there is plenty of talent returning. In addition, sounds like they're going to get Michael Taft back. Obviously, Colin Simmons is there and has at least 2 years left. Boy, that kid is good.
God almighty.
But Texas going to have some holes to fill heading into the 2025 season. Then, of course, Jerry Jones could be the one that just pulls the pin on this whole deal by hiring Steve Sarkisian. OU fans would love that. Heck, they might make NIL contributions to the University of Arkansas in Jerry's honor if Jerry managed to hire Steve Sarkisian away and ruin what Texas has going right there. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here with you on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. You're listening to Locked In. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is open to you at 405-651-3439. Again, to go back to our conversation in the first segment, not quite clear as to whether Oklahoma is going to give the go-ahead to Denver Harris. I've had conflicting conversations in that regard. What I do know is if they do give him the go-ahead, he's going to be a Sooner. So that one is entirely in OU's court right now. The ball is in OU's court, so we'll see what happens here moving forward with the former five-star cornerback. Alex from Manford on the text line asks, I got a recruiting question, Parker. Texas never got the top O-line guys that were in the state of Texas, but Ty Haywood decommitted from Bama. Will Texas be the favorite? Also, OH. There you go, Alex from Manford. A big ol' I-O to you, sir. You remember Ty Haywood? Y'all remember? Those of you that tune into this show on a daily basis, you remember Ty Haywood. Oklahoma at one point was considered the favorite, not the heavy favorite, but the favorite nonetheless for Ty Haywood. I think there were even some predictions in OU's favor at one point. He committed to Alabama over the summer. He did not sign with Alabama in December, and at that point, the expectation from the Tuscaloosa side of things was that he was not going to wind up in the class. As of earlier today, he has officially decommitted and is back on the market. The three schools to watch here: Michigan, Nebraska, Texas Tech, as I understand it. The early conversations I've had surrounding Ty Haywood. Obviously, that's not a recruitment in which OU is any longer involved. They couldn't get Ty Haywood even if they wanted to fork over an insane sum of money because, well, he's a left tackle. You already got a left tackle in Michael Fasusi. Same reason you couldn't get Michael Fasusi and Lamont Rogers in the same class. You're not going to convince two left tackles to be part of the same class at the same institution. So Oklahoma's not landing Ty Haywood. Texas is not landing Ty Haywood, at least to my understanding. Michigan is the school that I would give the leg up based on what I've heard to this point. Recruiting Boomer says, I'd take Denver Harris. At least we can say we finally got into North Shore then. Well, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
North Shore is a school that Oklahoma has persistently had challenges. Not to the same extent that they've had challenges at DeSoto.
Right.
But nothing compares to the DeSoto University of Texas pipeline. Many of you may remember, this goes back, I believe, to 2022. Oklahoma, for a long, long time, was the heavy favorite for Quintravion Wisner. And then he transferred to DeSoto.
Yeah.
It was like 3 weeks later that he took a visit to Texas and committed out of nowhere, and it was over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was OU, transferred to DeSoto. Okay, still OU, but now we're a little bit iffy because of the whole DeSoto UT dynamic. He takes a visit to Texas like 3 weeks later, and it's over. So,
He's had a pretty good career there, too.
He has. Frankly, a better career than I would have expected.
Really?
I had my questions on him coming out of high school. He's been really, really impressive. But everybody that's gotten run in Texas's offense has been really, really impressive.
Especially at that position.
Yeah. Jaden Blue, man, and that's another one. Like, I didn't know what to think of Jaden Blue because he didn't play his entire senior year of high school. He opted out.
Uh-huh.
He just did not play as a senior. And so he came to Texas with plenty of questions surrounding what kind of player he was going to ultimately be for the Longhorns. And now he's 3 and done, off to the NFL.
And you think about the guys he sat behind, too.
Mm-hmm. Boy.
Bijan, Roshan Johnson, C.J. Baxter, Jonathan Brooks. Is C.J. Baxter going to come back?
Yeah, he's only a freshman, isn't he? Or sophomore. He's a sophomore.
Yeah, and he blew his knee out. He didn't play this year.
Yeah, he'll be back.
He can come back. Wow.
Him and Jarrett Gibson.
Man. They're starting to turn into Alabama with the way they're running out these running backs.
What's happening is they're turning to Oklahoma circa 2015 to 19.
That too. Yeah.
I guarantee you, if Sark can't get over the hump, or if Sark gets hired away by Dallas or some other NFL institution, Texas fans are going to look back on this run, however long it lasts, and they're going to consider it in the same vein as Oklahoma fans consider their teams from 2015 to 19 and how many opportunities they had to go claim a national title and just could not break through because it was all there, especially in 2017 for Oklahoma. It was all there. All they had to do was get past Georgia, and they were winning that national championship game.
Yes.
They were beating Alabama. It was a foregone – like that OU-Georgia game very much felt like the national championship, and then Tua Tagovailoa happened.
Right.
But all Oklahoma has to do, this is my opinion, this is many people's opinion, they get past Georgia, they're winning the national title. And they couldn't do it. They could not break through for that 5-year span where they were right there every single year. Even in 2016, you remember they started out 1-2, they didn't lose again.
Yeah.
And so for Texas, I know we're only, 2 years, 3 years into this thing? Texas being, quote-unquote, back. But if they don't get to the mountaintop and they don't win a national championship, the sentiment from that side of the Red River is going to very much start to resemble Oklahoma fan sentiment at the beginning of this decade. Oh, my goodness, when are we going to win another national title? Because at that point, it had been almost 20 years for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's been almost 20 years for Texas.
I think next year would be 20, right?
Next year will be 20.
2005 with Vince Young. Wouldn't Oklahoma back in that 16-year love to 12-team playoff start out 1-2, don't lose the rest of the year? Those are the teams that the 12-team playoff is for, just like this year's Ohio State.
Oklahoma in 2020 would have loved a 12-team playoff as well.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Because they started out 1-2.
Yes.
And they didn't lose again. And they whopped Florida in the Cotton Bowl.
But that's who the 12-team playoff is for, those types of teams. Because sometimes you got to let this marinate a little bit. Mm-hmm. You'll have a hiccup. Look at Ohio State. Look at Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois.
And Notre Dame is the very first team that has objectively benefited from the playoff expansion because with a loss to Northern Illinois, they're not getting in. They're not getting into the 14 playoffs. Yeah. I mean, they're probably exactly what they were, which was, I think they were the 7th seed.
Correct.
So, yeah, they're in that 6 to 8 range, and they're not making a 14 playoff. Not with a loss to Northern Illinois on your record and no conference championship game to speak of. You're not getting in the field. But in the 12-team playoff, don't gotta sweat it. You're in, and then whatever happens, happens.
We've got a couple super chats here.
Oh, okay.
That I want to get to. The first one's from Alan M on the YouTube live. Any chance we get back in on Ty Haywood? You answered that one. And then Nicholas Wilson, which is more likely in the next 3 years? OU wins the SEC or Venables is fired? Which is more likely, Parker Thune?
I'll tell you which one's more likely. I think we're all on the same page with that one.
I think we are too.
And that's just, that is what it is right now. Got to make a statement in 2025. You got to prove people wrong in 2025. Because right now, nobody believes nationally. And you really didn't give them a reason to believe in 2024. I know there were some things that happened that were out of your control, but didn't give them reason to believe in 2024 based on the way that football team played. And frankly, with the portal haul, it's great that you got Jean Mateer. That's one of the highest level transfers, highest impact transfers on the market in this cycle. But outside of that, I don't know if anybody nationally looks at what Oklahoma brought in the portal and is going, oh, yep, that's a sleeper team in the SEC next year.
No.
Keontez Lewis, Giovanni Gibson, Carson Kent, Will Huggins, Luke Baklenko. Yep, that's a sleeper team in the SEC. Those guys could all end up being good players. I think some of them will. But the national perspective on OU right now, the national narrative surrounding OU, there really isn't a national narrative surrounding OU. OU is not relevant right now in those national conversations for people that cover college football on a nationwide scope. They're not talking about OU, and they won't talk about OU until you give them a reason to. See what else we got in the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. CD from Hockley says, thought Babalola was a left tackle, Michigan commit. Yeah, he was. Oklahoma wanted him at right tackle, and it was something he was actually receptive to for a while. Big John from Texas says, Tebow is pro-weed. He was so pissed when Ramondre Stevenson got suspended for a little weed use. Maybe that's why he went to Cali. I guess, shoot, he didn't have to go anywhere in that case. Oklahoma. Oklahoma might be the weed capital of the country.
I think it. Well, I mean, Colorado still exists.
That is true. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of Colorado. Like, there's a weed shop on every corner in Oklahoma, man.
Especially in the college towns.
Mm-hmm. Recruiting Boomer says, what, Parker? They aren't looking at the Kennesaw State Hall and automatically putting OU in the semis? Yeah, that's not happening. People got Kennesaw State jokes. They're going to have Kennesaw State jokes all offseason. Cherokee Sooner just said, any new transfers from Kennesaw State? Right now. Oklahoma has, 2 scholarship spots left, I believe. So I think they're done until the spring portal, pending the outcome one way or another with Denver Harris. I was under the impression they were done before Denver Harris came into town. I was told last Wednesday, no more visits. Nobody else coming in. I said, great, okay, I'm going down to San Antonio. I won't think twice about it. Then, boom, come to find out on Saturday, yep, Denver Harris is on campus. So that was a surprise. Whatever happens, I don't think Oklahoma will continue to peruse the portal for any remaining talent here in the winter cycle. I think it waits till post-spring at this point for anybody not named Denver Harris. But as we saw with Denver Harris, plans can change on the fly. So, don't speak in definitives, especially with regard to the portal these days. That's the lesson.
Michael and Marlowe, Oklahoma weed is better than Colorado weed.
I'll take your word for it, Michael.
I will take your word for it
I
as well.
cannot speak to that, but I'll take your word for it. Chris from Knoxville says, so the Big Fish DC wasn't Tom Allen, right? Yeah, no, Chris. The Big Fish DC was not Tom Allen. I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together at this point. I've been asked not to say it. I'm not going to say it. It's not hard at this point to figure out. I'll just leave it at that. Okay.
Other than that, Penn State's had a good day today.
They really have.
Both their running backs coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Owen Wafel got him.
Mm-hmm. So now it's just a question of how do you replace Tom Allen? If you replace Tom Allen, I guess it's not official yet. The word was a final decision from Tom Allen is expected in the next couple days, but you don't run with a report like that. Matt Zenitz, Pete Thamel, I don't know who else all was on it, but you don't run with a report like that unless it is pretty much done to Clemson in Tom Allen's case. So, where does Oklahoma's next defensive coordinator come from, and when do they get him on board? That remains to be seen. Let's hit a quick break. We'll come back and wrap up Locked In here on The Ref. The Home of Sooner fans, stay here.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the ums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can Find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Thing in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show. And there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KRF app today to listen from anywhere.
When you're sick, you need to be seen by a health professional today, not next week. Norman Regional Urgent Care is here for you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open 7 days a week at Porter Health Village in Norman and Monday through Friday in Westmore and Goldsby. No appointment needed, just walk right in. Whether it's a sudden illness or a minor injury, Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
Your husband is pretty handy to have around. He makes the world's best mac and cheese. He's in the Tickle Monster Hall of Fame. And he can teach anyone how to throw strikes. But a busted pipe in a basement full of water?
Honey, I think we need a plumber.
Is a little out of his league. That's where a homeowner's policy from Shelter Insurance comes in handy. We'll help get your house back in order and your husband back to what he does best.
From your first home to your dream home, we can help. Call me, Brian McPherson.
Chaos returns to Norman this February as Oklahoma baseball season tickets are officially on sale now. Season tickets starting at $90 with 2025 home series opponents Mississippi State, LSU, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and Texas. The team looks forward to seeing you at L. Dale Mitchell Park all season long. For more information on season tickets and game times, visit Soonersports.com. Boomer Sooner!
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids are facing hunger every day? Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
Hi, this is Lisa Talley, broker and owner of Aria Real Estate Group. Aria Real Estate Group is Norman's premier full-service commercial and residential real estate brokerage and leasing and management firm. With our team of real estate agents, specialized property managers, and in-house maintenance team, Aria is here for you in every capacity. Whether you're a seller, a buyer, an investor, or a renter, we can help. Please explore our website at ariagroupok.com. Aria Real Estate Group, the gold standard of real estate.
Straight back to the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line here on Locked In. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton, one final segment before we turn things over to Tyler and Ted on the Rush. Yoda, one of my favorite texters on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, simply says hello. Hello, Yoda.
He said a lot before that.
Great
too.
to hear from you. Oh, he did say something before that, didn't he? Hey, Parker, can we talk about the incoming freshmen you seen over the weekend, please? Yeah, Oklahoma had 2 representatives down in San Antonio at the U.S. Navy All-American Bowl, which is where I was Thursday and Friday. That is why you did not hear my voice and instead heard Steely talking about gentlemen's clubs in the early 80s. Ryan Foje, Tristan Haynes, both blue-chip signees for Oklahoma in the 2025 recruiting class. They were the only 2, which is, at least since I've been covering the game, the smallest contingent that Oklahoma has put in the game itself. It was a smaller class for Oklahoma this past cycle as well. They only signed 18. So got to see Ryan Foje, got to see Tristan Haynes. I mentioned this a bit earlier, but the coolest thing about watching Foje was seeing him bounce around from position to position. He played tackle, he played guard, he played center. He played a lot of center. He might even have played more center in the actual game on Saturday than he played guard. He didn't play a ton of tackle, if any, in the game itself. Tristan Haynes had a nice pass breakup. He got the opportunity to return a couple punts. Neither of the returns were spectacular by any means, but they both got in on the action. They were both on the winning side at the All-American Bowl on Saturday. Came down to the final play, 13-7 in favor of, I guess it was the East squad. I can't remember. I had a tough time distinguishing between the two teams all week because one of them, one team is wearing white and blue uniforms and one team is wearing red and black uniforms, but they just say All-America or All-American Bowl or something on the front. There was no East, there was no West, there was no nomenclature on the uniforms or the helmets to distinguish the two. So there was the white team and there was the black team. That sounds wrong. There was
I was gonna let you run with that.
There was the blue and white team. There was the red and black team. I could never get it straight.
Well, you remember when Will Compton wanted to put that on Twitter?
Hey, Ladd McConkey, man. That's a
y'all got you a number one receiver.
That's a franchise cornerstone that the squad has not had.
Hey, man, y'all got you a number one receiver. You got you a corner. Y'all got two corners.
That's right.
I got my guy Riley Moss
and Cooper DeJean. The University of Iowa, man. Kirk Ferentz doing the Lord's work for the white squad.
He always been doing that, though.
Oh, okay. Back to the text line. Let's get this thing back on track. Tim from Nebraska says the wrong people are talking about Oklahoma, referring to national pundits. And everyone that is talking about Oklahoma is not necessarily good talk. That's fair, Tim. But, for instance, we're already starting to see the preseason odds, preseason way too early top 25 rankings. You know who's right there, number one? Texas.
I can't imagine anybody else.
Uh-huh.
Because Ohio State's losing a ton of dudes.
Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned earlier, Texas is losing a ton of dudes too. But this is Texas' time of year, man. This is when Texas is in their prime.
Yeah.
Nobody dominates the offseason and the offseason conversation quite like Texas. Ron and Alito asked, speaking of incoming freshmen, who do you feel has the best chance to make an immediate impact at receiver between Thomas and Choice? Gosh, that's such a hard question because I genuinely, truly do believe you are going to see both of them in a meaningful capacity next year. They're both really good. And they are both, in my mind, ready to jump in and contribute from the jump. If you made me pick one, I would probably give the slight edge to Elijah Thomas because I think in an all-around sense he's a little bit more polished right now than Manny Choice. But I don't know if there is a singular player in the 2025 cycle that Oklahoma landed that I'm higher on in a long-term sense than Emmanuel Choice.
Why him more so than Thomas?
Oh, my goodness. I think Emmanuel Choice's potential is through the roof. I think that dude could be the highest drafted wide receiver that Oklahoma has had since CeeDee Lamb.
Really?
Who was taken, what, 18th? 17th? Okay, yeah. So Manny Choice is a dude with first-round potential. Now, he's got to develop, obviously, and he's got to produce. But based on the skill set, based on the measurables, based on the athleticism, what I love about him, and I've always said that this is, I think, the thing that stands out most to me about his game and why I am so high on him. He's 6'4", verging on 6'5". He moves like he's 5'10". Grayson, like these big tall guys, they lumber a little bit or they look like baby deer out there. Emmanuel Choice is just so smooth, so fluid in everything he does. And so you combine that with the frame and the ball skills, the route running ability. He runs very precise routes, again, for somebody that size in particular. I think he has incredible potential. I think both of those guys could be in the Biletnikoff conversation before they're done at Oklahoma. I mean, Emmett Jones landed two verifiable studs, two of the absolute best receivers in this entire cycle. But I guess I would give the slight edge to Elijah Thomas just because I think there's more you can do with him in this offense.
Sure.
He's got the added versatility that he brings to the table as a guy that already did a little bit of everything in high school. And anybody with that type of position flexibility is going to have higher odds of seeing the field in an immediate sense, but would not shock me if both of those guys are playing a lot of meaningful snaps for Oklahoma in 2025. In fact, I would be more shocked if they didn't play meaningful snaps for OU in 25. Spartan Sooner says, so what you're saying is Manny Choice is a guy we will be re-recruiting every single offseason. That's a very good way of putting it, Spartan Sooner.
Yep,
yes,
pretty much.
Correct. You won't have to re-recruit Elijah Thomas because that dude is OU born and bred. Shakota's finest. Never wanted to be anywhere but the University of Oklahoma. You're going to have to give him a lot of reasons to walk away. But Manny Choice certainly, towards the end of the recruiting cycle, there were schools, including the Longhorns, mind you, that were sniffing around to see if maybe, just maybe, Manny Choice will listen if we want to put together a package to try and flip him from Oklahoma. Needless to say, he didn't. He stayed locked in with OU. He signed. He just enrolled over the past weekend, moved in with all the early enrollees, and he's on campus now, ready to get the work in.
DM on the YouTube chat, you said all the same crap about Jackson Arnold, Parker. Look what happened.
Okay. Hey, what do you want me to do with that? Yeah, I believed in Jackson Arnold. The entire freaking industry believed in Jackson Arnold. He was a 5-star prospect. Didn't pan out the way that we all thought it would at Oklahoma. The book isn't closed on Jackson Arnold. He's still got 2 years of eligibility. He's expected to be the starter this fall at Auburn. So, I get it. If you think Jackson Arnold is a bust, if you want to slap that label on him, that's fine. I'm not doing that yet. I think there are brighter days ahead for him at Auburn. And I'm excited to see for him what the 2025 and 26 seasons bring down there in the state of Alabama at the University of Auburn. Elsewhere on the text line, Krabby Sooner says, so you're saying that Choice and Thomas are way better than the 24 receiver class? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is they are certainly more ready to make an impact than any of those guys in the 24 class ever were.
Yes.
Because even before all the injuries, that was the conversation that we were having. That was the take that I was putting out there with pretty much every single one of those 2024 receiver commits. I believe last summer, I guess, going into fall camp, Tyler had asked me, which of these guys do you think sees the field as a true freshman? And my answer was the only guy with a real shot is Zion Kearney, because he is the most college ready of the four. Talking about him, KJ Daniels, Ivan Carrion, Zion Reagans. Now, obviously, circumstances dictated that Oklahoma had to put him, Reagans, and Carrion on the field a lot more than anybody would have anticipated. Or
wanted to.
Yeah, correct. And that's part of the reason why I'm just not willing to crucify Emmett Jones over what happened with his receivers in 2024, because I don't think he ever imagined that any of those guys were going to be playing as true freshmen. That's certainly not what he wanted.
The only real thing you can crucify Emmett Jones for is the disappearance of Jacquez Pettaway.
Sure, and I get that, and that's a weird deal. But, like, when you see a guy like that land at East Carolina out of the portal,
that's a fair point.
Yes, and I'm not saying that tells you everything. But when a guy that was a former top 50 overall recruit hits the portal and that's where he lands, as opposed to somewhere in the P4, that should tell you, okay, there was something going on. There was something going on that we're not aware of or that we're not privy to that made this guy untouchable for the entire Power 4. So I don't claim to know what was going on with Jacquez Pettaway. I have no idea why he disappeared from the game plan. I don't think anybody does. But when he goes and lands at East Carolina in the portal, that tells you, okay, it was legit. Whatever it was legit.
Yes.
There was a very legitimate reason he was not on the field for Oklahoma in 2024. Puerto Rican Sooner says, Thomas has bigger hands than Arnold. That makes him better already. a 405 listener asked, is Mateer on campus yet? Any sightings? I personally have not been to campus today, which I believe is the first day of classes.
Yes.
So I have not seen John Mateer with my own two eyeballs. I'm sure someone will at some point. There will be confirmation that John Mateer is enrolled in classes at the University of Oklahoma. Okay. That's going to do it. We are out of time on this fine Monday afternoon. Thanks for hanging with us for the past hour. Grayson Singleton, Parker Thune with you here on Locked In. Grayson, a fun time as always, my friend.
See you tomorrow, bud.
We will do it again tomorrow. But you shouldn't go anywhere because Machine Gun McComas and the great Teddy Lehman are going to have you for 3 more hours of OU sports talk coming up next. It is the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. I'll see you again tomorrow at 12. Grayson will see you again tomorrow at 2 for another installment of Locked In. Stick around. Tyler and Ted are next on the home of Sooner fans.